Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our Pokemon React app. So in this part, as you can see, we have a UI update. UI means user interface or just the look of the application, right? This is our application and UI is how our application looks. So the update from last time, as you can see from our web app, is that there is an update on the navigation. And also, I think last time we didn't create the Pokemon types, so we will be creating the Pokemon types for this. So one thing about the navigation is there is home, my Pokedex, and settings, right? And as you can see, my Pokedex is active while home and settings are grayed out. And when my Pokedex is active, we show my Pokedex content right here. If home is active, then we show home content. And of course, if settings are active, then we show settings content. Okay, now that that's out of the way, the second thing we're going to work on today is creating components or knowing when to use components. In general, components are just used as something to break up our code. So right now, our code is 21 lines long. If we continue working on this, our code will probably be a lot longer, right? It'll be a lot bigger, maybe even up to 200 lines of code. One thing that is good about React compared to normal HTML is we could break it down into components. So such as this nav container, we are going to be adding a lot more code inside the nav container. So one way we could make this better is to move our nav container out as a component. So we're going to do that now. So let's get started. So you can see right here, this div and this div has a class name nav container, right? Line 7 to 8. The way we know this is if we go and click on this, we get the highlight of the start div tag and the end div tag. And that way we know everything that is within that div. Just like this one right here, we can tell where this div starts and ends. It starts in line 6 and ends in line 18. And that's the case for every other div or every other tag that's open. Okay? Alright, so let's move out our nav container into a component. Ready? Okay, so what we're gonna do is just cut line 7 to 8 from app.js. And let's see what happens when that happens. You can see that the nav is gone. Also, while we're doing that, we're gonna get rid of this blue color, background color. And we had that just to see where our content was ending. So let's take that out, save it. Cool. Now, after we cut our nav container from our app.js, we're going to create a new folder inside our source. So this is source folder. If we click this arrow, it'll open up our source folder. So inside that, we're going to hit this new folder button right here. And hit that, and we're going to call this folder components. And make sure this components folder has a lowercase c. Okay? Hit enter, create a new file, and we're going to call this new file nav.js. Right? Make sure the N in nav is capitalized. Hit enter, and now in nav we have to paste our content, right? We're just going to comment this out for now. And we're gonna add, what we're gonna do is copy everything in app.js, hit enter a few times, and we're gonna add that in here. So now we are inside nav.js. So we're gonna change app, since this is not called app.js anymore, we're gonna change app to nav right here. Since this is a function nav, and we're gonna export default nav. And you will do this for every component you make. We're gonna take out everything inside return, and we're going to return whatever is inside, whatever our nav container was. So we're gonna have our div right there, our div start tag, our class name equals nav container, and then our div end tag, right? We don't need our logo right here, so we're gonna delete that. And then for import, we are not going to have this import. Why? Because notice how our app.js was in the same folder or same directory as app.css, but nav is in a directory inside component. So what we have to do is go one directory back. So go one directory back, we can do this right here, dot slash, and we're in one directory back, and we can do app.css. Cool. Let's save that. Okay, now we have our nav.js component made, and we're exporting this nav component by export default nav. Now, how do we call that inside app.js? Well, it's pretty simple. Well, first let's get rid of line 1. We don't need the logo. So we took that out. We're going to do import nav, and most of the time VS Code will automatically show us the component. As you can see, nav is in the directory components nav. So click on that and it automatically imports nav. Save it. There's no error. We're good. Now we're just going to add that into our app container, right? We don't want to add that into our content container because that's this area right here. We need to add it inside app container. So let's do that. Let's do nav and save. There you go. We just created a component